Let me thank Karen and her husband for that very generous introduction. Let me thank Donnie Turner for helping to organize the event. Yehuda, thank you very much. And thank you all very much for being here. The truth of the matter is we do very, very few events like this. In this whole campaign now, this is the third fundraising event that we've done. We're going to do some of them when I'm here in Washington, but most of our activities and meetings with people are not about raising money. Our activities are speaking to thousands of people about the absolute necessity of transforming American society. I'm not going to go on for too long, but let me just say a few things. Number one, this campaign is different than other campaigns for three reasons. Number one, our message, our program, what we want to see America become, and I'll talk about that in a moment, is very different. We are the wealthiest country in the history of the world, and yet a few blocks away from here, people are living in abysmal poverty. Kids cannot afford to go to college. People don't have any health care. And our job is to ask, why? Why are we living in a society in which, for the last 40 years, the middle class of this country has been disappearing, and almost all of the wealth and income are going to the people on top? That's the question that we have to ask. That's what this campaign is about. And the second issue is what I will tell you is something that no other presidential candidate will tell you. And that this campaign is not simply about electing me. I hope we accomplish that. But that ain't the most important thing. The most important thing is building a political movement in which millions of people who have given up on the political process, including a lot of young people, and I'm very gratified to see as we go around the country more and more young people coming out. In the last election in November, 80% of young people did not vote. We are not going to transform America when 80% of young people don't vote, when 63% of the American public doesn't vote. So what we are asking your help about, and I mean this very sincerely, this ain't about me, it's about you. It is about creating a political revolution. Not only transforming the economics of America, transforming the politics of America. What goes on in the Capitol, a few blocks away from here, is way, way, way out of touch with the needs of the American people. And the only way we transform that, the only way we change that, is when political consciousness grows in America and people understand that in a democratic society, government is supposed to represent them and not just wealthy campaign contributors and the billionaire class. And what I say to you, and I say this all over the country, is I and no president can do this alone. These guys are just too powerful. You got Wall Street folks, you got all of corporate America, you got the billionaire class, and you have these large campaign donors and all the lobbyists. The only way that they can be beaten is when people all over this country, by the millions, stand up and say loudly and clearly that this country and our government belong to all of us and not just a handful of people on the top. And when we do that, there is nothing that we cannot accomplish. The third area where our campaign is different is that we feel it is necessary to have a very, very active social media presence. And that's not just to raise money. More importantly, it is to educate people, to help people get organized, for us to begin debating what the media very rarely does, and that is the most important issues facing our country. Politics in a democratic society, and I believe this from my heart, is not a baseball game. It is not about how much money you raise. It is not about your numbers in the polls. It's not a soap opera about your personal life. It is not about me. It is about you and millions of other people. And in a democratic society, what politics is supposed to be about is to throw on the table the important issues facing the American people and determine how we resolve those issues. And we're going to use social media very aggressively to do that. And we are trying, as part of creating a political revolution, is to create a grassroots movement of millions and millions of people. On July 29th of this month, the end of this month, we will be holding what we believe will be the largest digital organizing effort in the history of this country. And that is, we hope to have in 1,000 locations, at least 1,000 locations, in every state of this country, organizing events where people are coming together. Tens of thousands of people are coming together to determine how they can develop grassroots movement in their own communities. And I hope some of you right here will get to our website and sign up and host a house party. Some of them will be in homes, some of them will be in bars. But here is the challenge. The challenge is, can we reach out to people who don't vote? Can we speak to our Republican friends who continue to vote against their own best interest? Can we get to the young people who are not involved in politics? Can we get to those people who have given up on the political process? And if we can do that, there is nothing that we cannot accomplish. And let me just touch on a few of the issues that are out there. To my mind, the issue of income and wealth inequality is the great moral issue, the great economic issue, and the great political issue of our time. It is not acceptable to me that the top 1/10% in this country own almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. It is not acceptable that one family, the Walton family of Walmart, owns more wealth than the bottom 130 million people. It is not acceptable that in the last 2 years, the 14 wealthiest people in this country, 14 people, saw their wealth increase above and beyond what they already had by $157 billion. That is more wealth that is owned by the bottom 40% of the American people. It is not acceptable to me that since the Wall Street crash, 57% of all new income generated is going to the top 1%. That is not what the American economy is supposed to be about, and together we are going to change that. One of the fun things about running for president is you can raise issues that other people choose not to talk about. And one of those issues is unemployment in America. Every month you hear that the unemployment rate is 5.3% or so. It's not. It's really double that if you count people who have given up looking for work and people who are working part-time. And let me tell you what is absolutely frightening. And we don't talk about it at all. I was on the floor of the Senate today talking about it. Youth unemployment in America. For kids 17 to 20 who graduated high school, if you're white, that number is 33% unemployed or underemployed. If you are Hispanic, 36%. If you are an African American kid, that number is 51%. That is a tragedy of unspeakable dimensions. We're turning our backs on an entire generation. And one of the results of that very, very high unemployment rate, and the fact that there are kids all over this city hanging out on street corners with nothing to do, is that we end up having the highest rate of incarceration of any country on earth. And my view is, it makes a lot more sense to be investing in jobs and education than incarceration in jails. before, which would have created 1 million jobs for young people over a 2-year period, we couldn't get one Republican to vote for it. But it's not just jobs or income and wealth inequality. It is also wages. And the reality that all over this country, people are working for substandard wages, and as a result, some people are working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, 4 jobs. So that is why, in my view, we've got to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, $15 an hour. And we need pay equity for women workers so they don't make 78 cents compared to men. And when we talk about unemployment, we can create millions of decent paying jobs by rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, roads, bridges, rail, water systems, and that is exactly what I intend to do. Let's put our people back to work. But it is not only even the economy that we're not addressing. I want all of you to hear me loudly and clearly when I tell you that as a result of this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision, our current campaign finance system and the political process today is corrupt, and there's no other word that I can use to define it. Just the other day, you're hearing about the amounts of money that are coming into candidates. Most candidates who will be running for President of the United States will raise more money in super PACs funded by millionaires and billionaires than their own campaign is running. In other words, the billionaires will have more influence over these candidates than they themselves will have in their own campaigns. And that is why I have made one promise in this campaign, that any nominee of mine to the Supreme Court of the United States will in fact have to pass a litmus test. And that litmus test is that he or she will make it loud and clear they will vote to overturn Citizens United. And furthermore, overturning Citizens United is not enough. If we want a vibrant democracy where people feel part of the political process, we need to move to public funding of elections, so everybody can participate. There's another issue that we will talk a whole lot about in this campaign, and that is that as human beings, as adults, as parents, and I've got 4 kids and 7 grandchildren, we have the moral responsibility to leave this planet to our kids and our grandchildren in a way that is habitable, which means we have to take on and combat climate change. There is no longer a debate. The scientific community is virtually unanimous. Climate change is real. It is caused by human activity. It is already causing devastating problems all over this planet. Take a look at California, where they're cutting back on water use, where they're now fighting an unprecedented level of forest fires. Take a look at Karachi, Pakistan, where people are dying because of an unprecedented heat wave. And that is just the start. If we don't get our act together, the scientists tell us by the end of this century, this planet will be 5 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit warmer, more drought, more floods, more extreme weather disturbances, more acidification of the ocean, more rising sea levels, more international conflict as countries fight for limited resources. Our job is to understand how the imperative, moral imperative of dealing with climate change, transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. And when we do that, by the way, we also create millions of good paying jobs. The last point that I want to make is, all of these issues are so big, one doesn't know how to prioritize them, but this is just a huge issue. We live in a highly competitive global economy. And everybody understands that for this country to be successful, we need the best educated workforce in the world. Today, it is beyond belief, literally beyond belief, that at a time when we need the best educated workforce, hundreds of thousands of bright young people who have the ability, who have the desire, who have the qualifications, cannot get into college for one reason, and that is that their families lack the money. That is crazy. It is unfair to these people to take away their ladder to the middle class, but it is even crazier for the future of our economy, an economy that needs teachers, and needs scientists and engineers and doctors and nurses and police officers. The idea that we are not giving everybody the opportunity to get all of the education they need is so counterproductive to the future of this country. And that's why I have introduced legislation and will implement, as president, a process by which we make every public college and university tuition free. And we're also going to deal with the horror show of outrageous interest rates on student debt all over this country. We have people graduating college, $40,000, $50,000 in debt, medical school, $300,000 in debt. I met a young woman who just graduated dental school, $400,000 in debt. Now, what sense is it that there are people today carrying student debt interest rates at 8, 9, 10% when you can refinance your home at 2 or 3%? What sense is it you go out and buy a new car at 0, 1%? So what we are going to do is allow people to refinance their student debt, substantially lower interest rates. And also get the government out of the business of profiteering on student debts that are coming from middle class and working class families. That's not what we should be doing. So let me end on this note. First of all, thank you very much for helping out, for coming here. We hope that you'll be participating actively in the campaign, and we appreciate your campaign contributions. But let me conclude by saying this and reiterating. This is the wealthiest country in the history of the world. If we were a poor country, we would be saying, well, it's too bad that not everybody can get health care. We're a poor country. It's too bad our infrastructure is crumbling. We're just a poor country. It's too bad that we don't have the resources to deal with climate change. We are a poor country. We are not a poor country. We are the richest country in the history of the world. And when we end this business of a handful of people having all of that wealth, we're going to be able to do some very interesting things. We are going to be able to guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child as a right. We are going to be able to have the best child care system and pre-K education in the world so that our working families can go to work and know that the kids are well taken care of. We are going to have the best rail system and the best infrastructure in the world. We are going to hold our heads high and say to the whole world that we are leading the world in transforming our energy system. We're going to work with China and India and Russia and other countries to help them do the same so that our kids have a planet which is habitable. And we are going to end the disgrace of 30, 40, 50% of our kids being unemployed because we are going to get them jobs and get them education. So the point that I want to make, I don't want you to accept a conservative worldview that says, well, you know, things are really tough. Maybe we should cut education by 2%, not 6%. That should not be the debate. The debate should be, why not? Why are we the only country in the world, for example, that doesn't provide medical and family leave to our people?
So when a woman has a baby, she has the opportunity to stay home with that baby. Why are we the only major country on earth not providing guaranteed paid sick leave and paid vacation time? All right? All of those things are doable. They're not wild, crazy, radical ideas. They're really rather mainstream, modest ideas. But the only way we make it happen, and here's where the going gets tough, is we ought to take on people who have huge amounts of money, who control our economic system, who control our political system. Well, let me conclude by saying to you why I think we can do it, why I am optimistic that we can win this election. Yes, the Koch brothers and their friends have all of the money, but we have the people. And when people stand united, there is nothing that we cannot accomplish, and that is what this campaign is about. Thank you all very much.
Give him hell, Bernie. So, coming from the great state of Vermont, we really appreciate it. Thank you all so much for coming. Bernie Sanders is not only the most authentic and genuine and passionate candidate in this presidential election, but he's also the most electable. Please go online, berniesanders.com. Give as much money as you can. There are envelopes on the tables.